Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into a new edition of the Batter Up podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood here on the Sports Insanity Network. Mike, Dan, the old ops guy with you. And if you are a father today, happy Father's Day.
Thank
In
you.
Mark's case, it's happy Grandfather's Day.
Oh, you ever
Walking
just
up.
want to reach out and choke somebody like Bart Simpson?
You know what? I found the gif of it the other day and I started using it. Oh, Jelly, good morning. How are you?
Doing fine. Thank you very much for the old entrance. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Uh,
Dan, how are you?
good, good. Yeah, shout out to all the fathers out there, including mine. Not only is it Father's Day weekend for him, but he also turned 68 on
Oh,
Saturday.
happy
So
God bless
birthday.
him.
yeah,
Happy
so
birthday and God bless him.
yeah, he's sorry, I'm still throat's killing me. But yes, the shout out to my dad. He's awesome.
All right. Yeah, so happy Father's Day. Happy birthday to the Mr. Ryans as well. But let's dive right in because last week we talked a lot about the gambling situation in MLB. It has struck.
Unbelievable.
It has struck again. This time, it has struck the umpires. As Major League Baseball announced on Friday that it is disciplined umpire Pat Hoberg for violating the league's gambling rules 10 days after the league levied a lifetime ban on a player for gambling and suspended four others for 1 year. Hoberg is appealing the discipline, and according to ESPN, and this is from Jeff Passan, according to ESPN sources, has denied betting on baseball. The exact nature of the discipline is unknown, but Hoberg has not umpired a game this season. MLB in a statement did not indicate whether its investigation into Hoberg showed that he bet on baseball. Okay. So, Mark, we have our first umpire involved in the scandal, but at the same time, Holberg and Major League Baseball are not saying he gambled on the game itself.
That is correct. We're getting just a little bit of what's going on. And, if Hoberg did bet on baseball, they have it. They have the right evidence they need. And if they levy the suspension and it stays, he should be disciplined the hardest because it's the first to fall down on an umpire. Now, if he bet on a different sport or wasn't anything due, or he bet 10 days before he was going to ump the game, it doesn't matter because you can't predict what you're going to do 10 days from now. But he could not bet on his own game. And if that's the case, then he has to be disciplined as the players were. Yeah.
It yeah, it's a two-way street, right? You want to make sure that everyone gets fair treatment and stuff. So if anyone, any MLB executive bets on baseball, then the MLB executive has to get suspended, right? If the umpire gets it, then umpire does it, right? The umpire gets suspended. Player does it, player gets suspended. Look, I don't know if he bet on baseball. Again, it's a potential violation. That's why none of the details of his discipline has been released because we don't know exactly the details of what he actually bet on. But you still have to send a message saying this is not okay, and we're we are going to punish you for your actions in terms of gambling. And I just don't understand like what people just don't get. I seriously don't understand how you leave any holes for baseball to find out that you've been betting on the game is just ridiculous. like people seriously have not learned their lessons here. And like, you know me, I'm not the type of guy to come after you. You bet on baseball, you bet on baseball. You know I don't care. But the
Mhm.
league cares.
It's being cracked down on to a point that we're starting to see that it's not just one sport here. It's not just football. It's everywhere. It's football and baseball. And who do we essentially have to blame here? Do we necessarily have to blame FanDuel, DraftKings? No, because the United States is the one that's allowing it. And they're making it available to everybody, whether you're
Yeah.
professional or not. But professionals such as NBA, PGA, anything that ends with a league termination, they should not be allowed because they'd be given a little bit of insider information or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's what
So-
that's what it is.
It's
Hard and don't have a track to you.
it's that weird like wiggle room into the insight you have on your sport or any sport, because athletes talk to each other.
The other thing is this, and Mark, this kind of goes to what you were saying, is who we blame. But these leagues are in bed with these apps and whatnot. We talk about it all the time. What are the commercials you see during a ball game? FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM. The list goes on and on and on.
Come on, their eyes light up into dollar
Yeah,
signs here.
they think they're Shark Tank. They got a brilliant idea. Let's get in with these people.
So how can you not?
Yeah, right.
With all the billions of dollars that it brings into sports.
So there's such a double standard because they're saying we can make money with these products, and I'm not saying the players should be able to make money or bet the games because it is wrong. But if Pat Hoberg didn't bet on baseball,
yeah, what are we talking about?
Cue up the Peter Griffin Family Guy when he goes back to school. Oh my God, who the hell cares? Yeah. He's an adult. He gambled. Now, if he didn't gamble on baseball or a game he was umpiring, I really could care less.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna suspend if that's the case. Again, I don't know.
Right, we're waiting on more details.
I don't know what this guy decided to bet on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but if he bet on baseball, he should definitely be suspended because it's against league policy. It doesn't matter what our opinions are; it's against league policy. But if it's not, then that's a major problem. That we're gonna suspend someone for doing stuff outside of the game, but that Shohei Ohtani is not going to get anything whatsoever for his actions. And let's be honest here. We talked about it last week. We'll talk about it again. Shohei Ohtani should be suspended because he was definitely involved in his thing. And, his interpreter took the fall, and I'm sure he appreciates the fact that his interpreter is going to go to jail or prison, whatever you want to call it, for his actions. But yeah, come on now.
Obviously, sorry about that before Dan cutting you off. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani is really the center of all this. Yes, we now hear about Pat Hoberg. We learned about the NBA. We've learned about every other place where gambling is taking.
Those 400 players.
Right. Everybody's had a penalty levied except Ohtani. And the reason why is, as Dan said, well, I'm sure he's pretty happy that his interpreter is going to go to jail for him. Now, it might be the most coziest jail ever. It could be a super fed, white collar tennis country prison, as far as we know. And we don't. But the whole key is, I agree with Mike. I agree with Dan that since Ohtani is as much as part of this as anything, he needs to be suspended as well. I'm not saying a lifetime ban, but he needs some type of penalty.
And well, one, it's not going to happen because Major League Baseball's already swept that under the rug, and they're making examples of these other
Right.
individuals, and that's
Well,
right
well,
now
well,
include.
well, so far only baseball's investigated, right? And maybe the FBI, whatever. Can we get an independent
NBA is next.
investigator?
Yeah, NBA
Yeah.
is next.
Can we get
Well,
an
I mean-
independent investigator to investigate all these leagues here? Because so far it's been a league investigation. Those league investigations can be corrupt as hell. You
Oh, yeah.
know,
You you think if LeBron James was John Tate Porter of the NBA, Adam Silver's not looking the other way.
Of course he is.
Looking the other way. Protect the face of my league. Major League Baseball's did that with Otani. And look, if Otani truly is innocent, which listen, if he is,
Could
he
be.
is, they'd release the findings of what they found into their internal investigation.
Correct.
Same thing here. And look, release whatever you find on Pat Hoberg, who released this statement, quote, I'm appealing MLB's determination that I should be disciplined for violating sports betting policies. While that appeal is pending, it would not be appropriate to discuss the case. That said, I have devoted my adult life to the profession of umpiring, and the integrity of baseball is of the utmost importance to me. I look forward to the appeals process, and I am grateful that the MLB Umpires Association is supporting me in the appeal, close quote. So,
I'm sorry to say that doesn't sound like a very guilty person because he's inviting them to open up his life as a book and investigate everything. And he doesn't care. I'm sorry. I mean, if he had something to hide, he doesn't make that type of statement. However, until we get, like Mike said, the final findings is when.
by the way, first
Yeah.
time really a referee kind of situation since Tim Donaghy of the NBA.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Again-
It'd be interesting. Interesting that an umpire though is now being flagged for gambling. That's that. I mean that it's obviously it's not something that hasn't happened. Of course, it's happened before, but you know they're really serious about cracking down on this crap. So I guess I give them credit for that, but you know you also got to get your facts straight if you get this wrong.
Oh, trust me, if MLB has gotten this wrong, this is going to be your standardize of how they will go about referees otherwise
Yeah.
in every league, and they'll go after everything now because they don't want sports teams don't want to lose. The one of the things that's keeping them up is they're all opening up, whether it's a FanDuel, a DraftKings, or one of them in stadiums now. You can go and place bets like a sports book. And one of the first places it wanted to be tried is by Steve Cohen doing this deal out in Flushing. They've already said that the casino will not go in. Steve Cohen's like, okay, then I'll put it in
What do
City
you-
Field.
You
And-
think my pal Jessica Ramos for that? She's one of the state senators of in New York that is saying no, we don't want gambling sites on parkland.
Right. And I don't disagree. But no matter what, I mean, like Mike said, Shohei Ohtani's the face of baseball. Steve Cohen's pockets are deeper than anyone's in baseball. It doesn't affect him. If he's told no, he doesn't sit and cry like a baby. He said, okay, no problem. He opens up a sports book at Citi Field. What happens? A sports book is now opened up at Yankee Stadium, and then it's going to be everywhere that people can do it. So then how do you discipline anything?
well, it's simple. They make the money off that.
And
The leagues are making, as long as they're making the money, they don't care.
and teams such as the Las Vegas A's, yes, I'm calling them that early. The Las Vegas A's, Kansas City Royals, Miami Marlins, all depend on this extra money, whether it's a little or it comes in money bags full.
But you also said the other key. the Las Vegas A's. With Vegas becoming now a sports city, you've opened yourself up to so much more.
Yeah, you can't get rid of gambling now because Vegas won't be too thrilled with that.
Yeah, so you have to figure that out if you're these leagues. And I get it; they're coming up with these different disciplines for the gambling, but at some point, we understand that. Listen, if you watch a ball game, you know what the commercials look like. FanDuel, DraftKings, they're trying to give it to you to spend money on that stuff. The sometimes it's a player, sometimes it's an umpire. But if the umpire didn't gamble baseball, he's an adult. I don't care what he does.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where this all plays out. In that end.
I mean, this is kind of rookie territory in a prosecution type sense because, like Mike said, we've never had this now on an umpire,
Right.
so it's going to be hit and miss here.
All right. So, any other details we get on the Pat Hoberg situation, we will let you know and we will discuss it. But we got news from the Houston Astros earlier this week. They have released former MVP Jose Abreu, who had 1 year left on his contract. Abreu in 35 games this year is hitting 124, 2 homers, 7 RBIs with a 195 slug and a 361 OPS. And then last year, he was also not great. Hit 237 with 296 on base, 383 slug with 18 homers and 90 RBIs, which is kind of shocking because he didn't get off to a great start. All right. I thought this contract for the Astros was going to be big deal. I thought Abreu would fit perfectly into that lineup. It didn't work for whatever the reasons may be, but now he gets to hit the open market and try to find another home, I guess.
Well, he really doesn't have to do anything this year if he doesn't want to. He just got paid $30 million basically to go home and chillax. Why do anything this season? I mean, yeah, if a team comes calling, you can make a decision, trade deadline he doesn't have to worry about because he's released. He's not going to be traded. He can go anywhere he wants for any amount of money he wants right now. I'm sorry, someone hands me $30 million to go lay on my ass. I'm going to take a week off,
And I think you just said the key, though. No other team has to pay him. He gets signed a 1 year or $1 million contract or whatever.
Right.
He's still getting paid by the Astros.
Right. And Abreu can hit. I mean, we've seen him do very well within Chicago and then moving down. Some people just don't fit in certain lineups. We've learned that. We've learned that all too wrong, except the 3-4-5 of the friggin' New York Yankees. Oh.
Well, that brings up a good point. Dan, we've heard about the Anthony Rizzo issues. Is Jose Abreu someone you'd be interested in for the Yankees?
I like LeMahieu in that spot right now. So
okay,
him and the platooning and all that stuff. It's fun. Okay. Rizzo will find his way back. It's been rough for him though. Been very, very rough for him to say. Jose Abreu, he's up there. He's near 40. He's 37 years old right now. I feel like he needs to go somewhere where there's like little to no expectation. Like the Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners are a good team.
Yeah.
But the Mariners are not expected to win the World Series, right?
Not this season, at least.
So, why not go there and try to find your footing again? Very small
Inserting
market.
him. Oh, sorry.
I'm saying, very small market. You're not going to get a lot of attention like you did in Houston. Again, the team has they're expected to at least being the wild card. Now, obviously, it seems like division race is very possible for them. So go somewhere like there. Go somewhere like, you know, a San Diego, Miami.
I don't
Miami
think
has
anybody
holes
wants to go
too.
to Miami at the moment.
I mean, if they're the only team that's going to throw him a bone, there would be no reason not to. But I mean, you figure Jose Abreu, if he's going to insert himself anywhere, is going to be at a shot to win something. And he's going to go to a team. I mean, if you look at the team, like Dan made a very
he's been
good.
struggling.
Sorry.
But he's been struggling. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, why would he go to a team that would be good if he's struggling? He should go somewhere where the team is or we're good, but we're not really expected to do much. Let's go there. And then maybe I can find my footing so I can prove to other teams that I am capable of winning. I apologize, Mark. Go ahead.
Not at all. No, it's a very, very good point. He could go, I mean, I can't say anybody who would want to, but he could go to Miami and become the forefront, the face of the organization at that point, having lead, get off whatever. And then let's say he puts him into a better position in signing a free agent deal for the next year. Dan made a very good point with the Seattle Mariners. I think he would fit very well and help get a little protection for Julio Rodriguez, who's really starting to wake up here. And you don't want to have him on fire. You want him on friggin' supernova. So give him a little protection. I think Seattle would be a very interesting point. I know Dan also brought up San Diego, but I think there's just too much there right now to insert him in anywhere. And I really don't see him going there to anywhere. Seattle sounds smart, maybe even somewhere in the AL East.
So we've been throwing this around, and I've been thinking as we threw this around. Mark, there's been a team that's been mentioned along the lines of Pete Alonso for really the last year and a half, trade wise, and they're kind of in the thick of the wild card. What about the Cubs? He's played in Chicago for the White Sox.
He loves Chicago too.
Yes.
He might love the deep dish. Who knows? Maybe he missed the deep dish, but veteran guy on a team that's pretty young for the most part. Maybe that's something you think about.
Well, that's what I mean. Again, the Cubs are not expected to win the World Series.
Right.
But it's a team that he could go to and find his footing again. And look, we're probably catching the tail end of his career. He got to the majors very late in his career, in his 20s. So we have to also keep that in mind.
But the other thing,
Meanwhile, shout out Ross Mason. Thank you very much for the happy birthday comment. Appreciate it, buddy.
But here's the other part, Dan. I think you mentioned it before. If he has a good resurgence wherever he goes, he's in line, maybe not for a big payday, but he's in line to get paid again next year by a team to see for at least another year to see what he's still got and another chance to potentially win a World Series.
Yeah. Like he can't worry about money. No team's gonna pay him, and he already got his his cash. He's set, but it's about finding a place for him that he could thrive in. And right now, a winning team isn't really smart to put him on because of the fact that he hasn't really shown much in the last couple of years. It just hasn't worked out for whatever reason.
Yeah. So let's see what's next in the curious case of Jose Abreu, who earlier this year was sent to Single A. But next up, we'll go to a team that had no desire to pay Jose Abreu, mainly because they've got a first baseman. But if he played the outfield, Mark, He'd be a perfect fit for the Atlanta Braves at the moment.
I, I was trying not to allude to that. After seeing the moment when I saw he was released, Atlanta actually made sense. Also, I mean, they've lost their footing, obviously, with the loss of Ronald Acuna. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just that's your shotgun starter. Who gets everything done in a game. You lose Ronald Acuna, it's gonna hurt the team. The team's
Yeah.
still playing very well. They're not playing top form, but they're playing well. But the one thing that it doesn't make sense for is Atlanta is looking for speed, and that's something Jose Abreu has none of. Jose
I
Abreu is very slow.
brought it up because the Braves have put Michael Harris on the injured list as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I just,
Two-thirds of their outfield now.
I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense for him to
It's a
play the
shame.
right field.
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
shame
Atlanta's
because
now.
now what?
It's a shame. It's a shame because you're going to take a player, you're going to insert a veteran for little money because he's gotten paid, put him in Atlanta, in the outfield, takes him to the playoffs. There you go.
Too bad he doesn't play the outfield.
I know. I'm just making an
I mean,
inference,
I
saying
mean,
they're
is
hitting
there
for
is
that.
there is there anywhere DH probably, and then you can probably find an outfielder, claim one off
I mean,
waivers,
if
free
you
agency,
trust Ozuna to play the outfield, but I don't think that's an everyday thing.
minor
Yeah.
leagues. They got to do something here because
Yeah,
you're
they
not
got
going
a
to
lot.
you're not going to insert scrubs in the outfield. You're the Braves. You know, this is a team that got swept by the Nationals not too long ago, which was surprising to me. Being an avid National supporter, but like you know, this is what I mean though. The Braves miss Ronald Acuna, and it shows in their approach at the plate in pretty much all aspects of the game.
Well, yeah, like they were struggling up until this weekend against the Rays. I think it was 16 of 25 they had lost up until Thursday, where they got a game from the Orioles, and then they've beaten up on the Rays the first two games. But you're right, Dan. They missed the presence of Acuna, and they missed the presence of Spencer Strider too.
Yeah,
Your top player and your top pitcher both go down. It's hard to win in baseball that way. And on top of the fact that the Philadelphia Phillies just don't lose games, the Braves have fallen into a place where they're closer to the Mets and the Nationals in the standings than they are the Phillies.
And it's the Phillies division now to lose. I mean, you can honestly say that now.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, as much as that guts Mike and myself, because we're the Mets fans of this organization, of this great sports network company. I hate to say it, being in New York right now, there's no bad comments. Nobody's complaining about how the Yankees are playing because there's nothing to complain about. Yeah, there sometimes the pitching is messed up.
well, they
Not a
lost
lot
to
of
the
people
Red
are
Sox.
yeah, but I'm just saying people are happy in New York about the Yankees. But also talking with a bunch of friends and myself, I'm very pleased with what the Mets have done, considering with the Band-Aid, gauze, duct tape rotation we have. The Mets have put away 15 of better than the last 20 games or wins. You can't be angry as a baseball fan in New York if both your teams are doing well. And that's a positive, if we can say anything. Fuck the Red Sox. Who gives a shit?
Wow, that's all me. To our listeners in Boston, we apologize. But no, the, you're right. It's the National League East. It's the Phillies to lose. But that being said, if you're the Braves, and let's be real honest for a minute, we penciled the Braves in as either the second best team in the National League entering the year, or we penciled them in as a definitive playoff team. Well, at the moment, they're a playoff team, they're that top wild card. But listen, we know how the wild card works now in baseball with the three of them. But if the Braves want to get in and they'll get in, they need to do something quickly because they have not played well. Over their last 10, they're 4-6. And like I said, I think it was 16 of 25 earlier that they had dropped. So, but Michael Harris goes to the injury list with a hamstring injury. Braves are down.
And hamstrings are tricky, as we all know.
Yeah, and don't expect that guy to be up and running for like at least next couple of days. Tough loss. That's a really tough one.
It might be an after the All-Star break thing. We know how that goes too.
I mean, I may go further if he really can't do it. I may go further and say trade deadline, which
Oh boy,
is a dangerous territory if you're the Braves. You don't have anyone to work with by the trade deadline.
Well, you need more out of the big guys who are there. Riley, Olson, who I think homered yesterday. Ozunas carried them. He's got 20 homers on the year, bud. Can't be the only guy. All right. Speaking of the All-Star game, voting has opened up, guys. So everyone go vote for your favorite players for the All-Star game because that's what happens.
All right, I'm throwing a question out to you. Over, under, how many Yankees make the All-Star game? We're going to say 6. Over or under?
Over under is 6.
Michelle says under.
Under.
I'm going to go the under too. I'm going to go 4.
Okay.
I'm going to go 3.
I was going to go 6. Directly 6. I mean, if you want to close your eyes and picture what this All-Star lineup should be, like Dan is doing, he's picturing it as Aaron Judge, Stanton, and Soto. It's right there. And then, mind you, the front half of that All-Star is going to be the Baltimore Orioles. And then at the bottom, it's going to come from the AL East, most of these starters. There is no division really playing better, in my opinion.
All right, so I think we're in agreement on some of them. So I think we'd all have Judge and Soto. I think we'd all have Stanton.
Yep.
All right. And then you got, in my opinion, Luis Gale's going to get in.
He should. Absolutely.
Who would be your other 2?
You got the closer. The other day, Spencer was.
Clay.
No. Clay Holmes is not
Clay Holmes.
No. Clay Holmes.
But I mean, Clay. To be fair, Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes been, when he doesn't get into trouble, he's lights out.
Yeah.
The second he walks a batter, it's fair game. I don't know. You're gonna get something different. But when it's a breeze, it's a breeze.
I mean, you look at possible honor mentions and stuff like that. The way the 2 Yankee catchers are splitting and doing well. I mean, they're not hitting 400 or anything like that. You have to look at every part of probably one of the top elite teams in baseball. And I hate to say it, it's the Yankees, but the Yankees have been just showing so much stuff from every different corner, whether you're throwing over somebody's head or they're hitting it almost out of the park every game. There is no stopping this New York Yankee team right now.
I think the team that's going to lead in All-Stars is actually the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, I was talking AL. I was just saying AL.
Well, I think in the AL, listen, the Yankees are going to get theirs. You mentioned the Orioles are going to get theirs. The starting third baseman has to be Jose Ramirez just because. And then, there are positions where you're just down. Like, catcher's always interesting because you could go Sal Perez, you could go this guy, this Julio.
Look at Cal Raleigh.
Cal Raleigh's had a really nice year. Maybe not an average wise, but power wise, he's had a nice year. Center field's always interesting. Yeah, Julio Rodriguez. How about the competition at shortstop? Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt Jr.
It's the AL All-Star game, as I said, is going to be comprised of mostly the AL East to start it off. I mean, the second and third tier players I feel bad for. And in the NL, it's a hodgepodge. I mean, we know Mike Trout's going to make it.
Well, Trout's probably not going to be playing. So, but if you look
Right.
at
So,
the
I
NL,
mean,
but sorry, but if you look at the NL, we thought coming into the year it was probably going to be the Dodgers just rolling around. Well, no, it's probably going to be the Philadelphia Phillies because
okay.
you know Harper versus Freeman at first base is intriguing. Second base is going to be whoever, but then you look, Alec Boehm's probably going to get in, deservedly so. He's had a nice year. Real Muto really
Injured,
hasn't had a lot of
unfortunately.
competition behind the plate, even though he's hurt. Wheeler and Nola deserve to be there. Pitching.
Yes.
By the way, side note, pitching matchup today in Baltimore, Corbin Burns, Zach Wheeler.
What a game.
Ooh.
What a game.
So if you're grilling, take a cigar, smoke, and watch that ball game out in Baltimore. But yeah, the Phillies, I think, are going to get 5 or 6
Okay.
as well. I do. The Dodgers, they're going to have their fair share too because Ohtani's getting in, Mookie Betts is getting in, Freeman's probably getting in. Yamamoto, if he's healthy, he left his start last night. He'll probably get in.
Yeah, that's all that. Yeah.
They're calling it tricep tendonitis, I think they called it. He's
Okay.
supposed to undergo imaging today. So.
Well, let's hope it's not anything serious with that.
If it's serious, they're in deep trouble. Although they are getting some guys back. Kershaw is on the mend. Bobby Miller's on the mend. And, although they've talked about Kershaw, they've said after the All-Star game. So wait and see. But it's everyone's favorite time of the year. They can go vote for their favorite All-Stars.
In a popularity contest.
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
So bad. I mean, what's worse, a popularity contest by the fans or a popularity contest by the media?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you on the back end of that. By the what?
By the media.
Got it.
I think it's worse for the fans. Because, listen,
I agree.
Unless you are like my good, famous President Abraham Lincoln, and you are honest to a core, and you are not just one of these jackasses who just goes, "Ooh, I'm going to vote for my favorite team." Don't be a dope. Vote right.
Yeah. Now, I think in any other sport it'd be voting by the media in a popularity contest.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, baseball, it's definitely the fans because of the fact that baseball is so regionalized.
Mm-hmm.
That it's really you're always going to get fans to vote on your favorite players from your favorite team or teams if you live in a region where there's 2 teams like we do. So
I agree with what you said about regionalized because we talked about, I brought it up before, Jose Ramirez, the most underappreciated man in baseball. Well, why is he underappreciated? Because he plays in freaking Cleveland. And how often is Cleveland a national game of the week? Never. Cleveland's been irrelevant since Drew Carey left, for Pete's sake.
But they still rock.
They do still rock. So you're right, Dan. It's been so regionalized. These networks, ESPN and Fox, and they don't show us all of the teams that we, would love to see. Cleveland's in first place. They're not a national game every week. But you know what's going to be shown on Sunday Night Baseball next week? The Mets and the Cubs for some stupid reason.
A little shout out to Corpus Christi out there this Sunday because he brought up an interesting thing to me every year, and I had to go back and look. we have done something as part of a group for the Subway Series, and it's always been Dan and Bill and Mike and I. So I want to let you know that Bill and I have talked a little bit, and we're trying to get something together, organized, so we can have our Subway Series traditional yearly conversation. So it was a good shout out by Bill to say, hey, should we do something like this? So look forward to your Subway Series report.
Shout out the Subway Series. All right. All right. Again, All-Star voting has opened up. We'll see what happens. And if you piss Dan and I off based on how you vote, the repercussions are on you.
You're definitely gonna vote in Judge and Soto. There's no excuse for that.
And you know Alonso's gonna get in.
I'm not guaranteeing that one.
I'm just saying he's gonna get in because popularity wise. I'm not saying that he deserves to be there.
I'm not guaranteeing that one.
I never like to use the word guarantee because anybody can put a guarantee. I can guarantee you that somebody's going to take a crap at some point today. You know,
have fun
guarantee
with
is
that.
only good. Yeah, guarantee is only as good as the person who writes it, and my credibility is way up there. So I'm going to say Pete is in. Mike is saying Pete is out. If Mike loses, he has to drive up and have lunch with me. If I lose, I got to take him to a ball game. I'm not saying he's. If I lose, I got to take him to a ball game.
Listen. I'm not saying he's not getting in. I'm just saying first base is gonna be a little bit crowded. You got Freeman, you got Harper.
Oh, I know.
You know.
I know.
So I'm just saying that's the other part of the rules. It's every team gets a representative. That's the other thing. Like,
and tell me anybody else on the Mets who deserves to be there name-wise. There's not one. Lindor has played, but hasn't played well enough. Alvarez has been injured and whatnot. So we'll see.
Right, the one name I'm going to throw out, and people are going to laugh because he's definitely not an all-star. It's the master, Harrison Bader.
Played so well this year.
He's not going to get there. No. But he deserves to be. And by the way, Luis Severino too.
Mm-hmm. Look at the job Quintana did yesterday.
I mean,
Quintana pitched well yesterday.
Yeah, Severino, you know, for a signing that was very low risk and maybe low reward, it's been more than that. So
he's been the best pitcher.
He has ace-like stuff. Something that I saw with the Yankees some time ago, but then of course he had to fall off the face of the earth with his injuries and his struggling and all that stuff. But yeah. No, he should definitely get some licks for the All-Star game.
All right. Again, voting's open. I think you go to MLB.com to vote. All right. On to some of this week's major series.
I gotta make it quick. I gotta go, but
okay.
Yeah.
Just before y'all continue, Yankees Orioles. It really depends on what happens today in Boston. But I really hope that the Yankees can have a better series against the Orioles than they did last time.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
All right. Oh yeah, that's where we were going to start anyway. But we will let you go, Dan. Thanks for joining us, and tell your
Thank you, sir.
Happy birthday and happy Father's
Day. Day, exactly.
But he really appreciates it. I sent it all the messages out to him. You know, my phone's been blowing up all day because my dad's a great guy, so. He really appreciates it. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys for
absolutely.
All right. But take care, folks, and have a good rest of your show.
All right, buddy. Thanks for joining us. All right. As Dan leaves. All right. Again, to go off of what Dan was talking about, the Orioles did take 3 of 4 from the Yankees in Camden Yards earlier this year. And I wanted to bring this up while he was here, but he is gone. But Mark, we talked about the Yankees and how great they are. They're 50 wins. But I'm still kind of waiting for them. It's kind of like the thought of the Dolphins during the regular season. can you beat a good team?
In
Like
all
they've beaten
fairness,
up
it's a
on the
good question.
bad teams or teams
As
they
we
are
saw they were
better
going
than.
to. But we also saw the Yankees pitching not at its best over this season. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a lot better than it's expected to have been. But in all fairness, yeah, it is.
And eventually they're gonna get Garrett Cole back. Who knows
Right.
when that is? Although
I mean, right now the Yankees are in a position to coast the rest of this season, and they're in the playoffs.
yeah,
But
they have to win the division. They need home field.
yes,
And
been a very big case for the Yankees. Yes.
and the other part is this: if and this is gonna drive people who are Yankee fans a little bit nuts, but we can talk about coasting into the playoffs, this, that, and whatever. The Yankees aren't judged by what they do in the regular season. They are only going to be judged based on what they do in October. The same cannot be said for this Baltimore Orioles team that is just, let's be real honest, they are so much fun to watch.
And that's been something that we've talked about is that watching teams play doesn't always mean you're watching them for record wise or they're great. Teams playing good are fun to watch. KC, Cleveland are two of the, are
And
fun teams.
they're young.
Cincinnati. Yeah.
They're young. They're athletic. They play well. By the way, everyone talks about Judge and Soto for AL MVP. Gunnar Henderson's right there with them too, with the year he's having. Jose, Adley Rutschman. Now the Yankees are going to catch a break. Corbin Burns pitches today, so they won't face Corbin Burns. But the
Well,
Orioles, oof.
I had picked the Orioles at the beginning of the season to win the AL East. I don't think there had been a team more complete this season than the Baltimore Orioles. That's not taking anything away from the Yankees. I'm just talking about a team that has a solid pitching staff and a solid lineup. No changes, no real problem. Look at what Santander did yesterday. The ball's still flying out of there.
Oh,
I mean, you don't have to be a power player to play in Baltimore. That ball travels there just like it does anywhere else. So, I mean, Baltimore is to me the premier team in the AL. Yankees are there, right up there, but I still hold Baltimore a little bit higher.
and here's the other part to that point. The attention can all go to the Yankees, and the Orioles fly under that little radar. And they're going to do something at the deadline. They're going to add probably to that bullpen. Maybe they add another start or two. Who knows? But they're going to do something low key that's going to make you say, man, this team has got something special. And they're right on the preface of it. There's not as much pressure on the Orioles as there is the Yankees. But being said, should be a fun one at the Bronx this week.
Yes.
All right. As we flip it over to the National League, the San Diego Padres, who had been playing well until they ran into, well, the Mets. They they go to Philly. They'll play the Phillies this week in a rematch of the 2022 NLCS.
And San Diego was another team we had talked about. It was impossible to put them up at the top position in the NL West because there was no better team than what the Dodgers are going to put out there. But when you look at San Diego's lineup and their rotation, they've been playing better. They're not playing top notch, but they're playing better. And if that lineup starts catching on, it can be as dangerous as any power hitting 3-4-5 and move the ducks on the pond than any team in baseball.
Yeah, and look, Machado, Tatis, they're having good years. Tatis has been awesome for the most part this year.
Yeah.
They add in Luis Ariz, which has been awesome for their lineup. And then their pitching, they've just been hurt. No Musgrove, no Darvish at the moment. You know, the guy who pitched yesterday for them, I don't know. I'm blanking on his name. I don't know. Young kid who just walked the world,
Oh God.
and the Mets just couldn't take advantage. But then you flip it over to the Phillies, and listen, we could talk about the Phillies all day. I still think they're the best team in baseball.
Mazer. Couldn't think of his name.
Yeah,
Mazur, or how he's
Moser,
pronounced.
Moser with an
3.2.
A.
Yeah. 6 walks. I mean, and he has a 7.82 ERA. 6 walks. Not many
Yeah,
teams don't take advantage when you're giving 6 free bases away.
yeah, but flip it to the Phillies, like they are just the lineup is dynamic. We know that
The
they're
Phillies are a machine that are put together, and they've been building that core for years to put the right squad on the field.
and that's the funny thing about it is because we talk about, well, you got to draft and develop, or do you build it through a free agency? The Phillies have done a nice mix of, well,
A both.
Alec Bohm was a draft pick. Well, they signed Trey Turner. Bryson Stott was a draft pick. Harper, obviously, free agent. They trade for JT Realmuto. By the way, I don't even remember what the Marlins got back in that deal because it hasn't worked out.
No, it
But
hasn't. It's the usual package that you see get sent off and broken down.
to the Marlins.
Right.
Castellanos was a free agent. They trade for a guy in Brandon Marsh who plays a solid outfield. And then they draft an Aaron Nola. And then they signed Zach Wheeler. By the way, for everyone who criticizes the Mets on letting Wheeler go, I can't blame the Mets because Zach Wheeler was always hurt.
Yes, I agree with you there.
And,
I would have loved to have kept Wheeler, but
the injuries were a concern. But the Phillies have the Phillies put it together when they fired Joe Girardi and hired Rob Thompson. That is when the Philadelphia Phillies said, okay, this guy is the guy to lead us. And he's done a marvelous job. So they are a machine. You are 100% right. All right. National League wildcard implications. The Giants go to Wrigley to play the Cubs.
another fun series.
I'm just not a believer in either one, to be honest with you.
The Giants were never a real forefront, even with getting Blake Snell in one of the worst contracts ever, who's hurt also anyway. The Giants have been a fun team to watch every now and then because, again, like Micah said, young teams are fun to watch because they put stuff together. That's the Giants, and then you got the Cubs on the other hand. Cubs have been good. Cubs have also been fun to watch, especially when they can create ways to get on base when that's not in the rule book. Doesn't matter. You still score runs off it.
And the Cubs, the Cubs, they haven't been playing great. They did beat the Cardinals yesterday, but
yeah,
where would they be without Shota Imanga, who's been dynamite?
Lights out.
By the way, the debate for starting the National League in the All-Star game is Shota Imanga and Ranger Suarez. Not a debate you thought you would have. And maybe
right.
Wheeler, triple threat match, but oh man. But the Cubs first year under Craig Counsell haven't gotten there yet. The Giants first year under Bob Melvin, we're waiting. If I were to ask you which one you think is more likely to make a run, who you take?
Melvin.
All right. So we'll see what happens there. And then the last series we got is a battle of first place clubs. We got the Mariners going to Cleveland to play the Guardians, just like in the late 90s.
Yeah. Cleveland has always been around over the last, half decade. So, they always seem to pop up and show up when they need to. I love, the trade they made, with the Mets trading Lindor. I think it was a necessity for them. Look what they got out of it. I mean, yeah, Med Rosario is gone, but you got Andres Jimenez, who's really, you can't say no, but it's played almost hitting wise as good as Lindor at times. So, they got their replacement there. Now you take on Seattle, who is just tearing up the AL West. You got a great Father's Day ball game right there.
And by the way, Seattle, that pitching, they're the team in the American League you don't want to face because of that pitching staff.
Yeah.
Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, in a short series.
And mind you, most of them are all youngsters.
Yeah.
They're not 10-year veterans here. These guys are 2 and 3 year, and they're coming out and they're pitching like they're guaranteed future starters. They're taking their job and they're doing the best they can with it. That's all you can ask of a team.
They're 7.5 up on Texas entering today. And yet they are 28th in Major League Baseball in batting average. If that is not a call for needing some help offensively, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
But, to your point, Luis Castillo's 31, Gilbert's 27, Kirby's 26, Bryce Miller's 25. They're young in the rotation. They are very young. By the way, this to go to Cleveland for a second, what they're doing this year without Shane Bieber, awesome stuff.
One thing I'm going to ask, and I kind of feel bad that Dan's not here for it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I don't have the rundown up in front of me, and I don't care. I'm going to bring it into this. Why not? What do you think about the Trevor Bauer situation? Since we're talking about Cleveland, we'll talk about a former Cleveland Indian / Guardian.
So you mean, would I bring him back?
Would you bring him back to any team?
No.
Would you see? Here's the issue, and I'm with Mike, unfortunately, and I've been criticized on this over the last couple of weeks. My problem with the fact is it has nothing to do with that he's innocent. I'm happy he was innocent because those were some harsh charges. But when you get your name trolled through the mud like that and stamped and steep, it's very hard to break back in anywhere in professional sports.
Him coming back would be a PR nightmare for any team.
Right. And who wants it?
Right. And the other part is this. I believe there's still another case against him for something. I could totally be wrong on that, but I believe there's another case. And there's one other part. He's been promoting himself, whether it's how he pitches out in the Mexican League or he goes on local radio stations. I know he was on WFAN during spring training at some point. Actions will always speak louder than words. And to me, and I get where he's coming from. He's, innocent until proven guilty on certain things. But it's the way things went down. And he's had a track record of, hey, maybe he wasn't beloved by all his teammates. Or maybe he did something stupid. Because I remember when he was in Cleveland and Terry Francona went to pull him against the Royals. And he went and he chucked the baseball over the center field fence.
Right.
That's something you just don't do. Especially to a future Hall of Famer like Terry Francona. So I think if I'm going to get a starting pitcher, I think I'd rather call up my guy Bartolo Colon and see what he's up to. Than I would sign back. It's not worth the PR nightmare. It's really not.
And unfortunately, I agree with Mike. Look, I watch what the guy's doing in the Mexican League. No offense. It's the Mexican League. I know he's had several workouts with the Houston Astros. He's been looked at by a couple of teams. But if you want to take an example, look at Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I never want to different reason, but kind in the same way, for a completely different thing. But Mike says actions speak louder than words. However, in this case, there's no actions and no words coming from any organization. So might as well implant yourself somewhere, get paid to do what you do, and that's it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't think it's worth the headaches that it's going to be because you're, excuse me, he's going to bring in a lot of media, but in the other part, you may be looking at fans who might say, I'm not spending money to go watch that guy pitch.
That's the problem.
And you're turning away, and let me be frank, whether he's innocent, guilty, what he was accused of is something you're turning away part of a fan base when you talk about women that they're not going to go support him.
Right.
And personally, I wouldn't support him anyway, but there's that part of it too. So yeah, I just don't think he's worth it at this point. Now, what he should do, and let me be brutally honest, is shut up, go pitch in the Mexican League for a year or two, whatever it is. Then maybe if certain things come across where he's found innocent or whatever of his other crime, maybe then a team says, okay, I'll take the flyer on you in a year. I don't think anyone's touching him now. But I don't think any team's going to do it because of the PR situation. So, but yeah, that's like, why do you think teams opted to wait for Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery then go sign him?
There was a lot of things this year we all were agreed about that were bad signings and were unbelievable. But I agree with Mike. As I said, unfortunately, I agree with Mike. I know what the guy can do, but I wanted to make sure we get a network standpoint out. Is that teams now are dealing with so much other problems they don't want to have another problem to deal with that they already have. The Dodgers wouldn't take him on because that's where he was, and he ain't coming back there.
Yeah,
he's not going to be the Dodgers. The only place he could end up is with Houston, and that's it. That's really the only team that would have seen him in workouts over the last 3 weeks, and that's it.
Yeah, and again, I don't think a team takes that chance. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Batter Up podcast here on the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by the Dugout. Mark, anything on the Dugout?
The Dugout is into its summer turn, and if you tune in this week, we will be having our One of One podcast hockey version today on recording today, and will be up by middle of the week. So please stay tuned to look into that. And for any of the cards you see that we display, you can find them very easily at Top Notch Sports Club by the end of the week and up on eBay.
All right. You can follow us on the socials, Twitter at SInsanityReal. We're also on Facebook. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. We're live on YouTube. Click the subscribe button, bell. Click the bell. Join. I don't know YouTube that well. All right. But until next week, for Mark, Dan, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you next week here. Batter Up here on the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. Happy Father's Day to all. And this is the one time you are allowed to go for a carton of cigarettes and potentially not come back.